Why are the Georgia Bulldogs not spending any money? That's what we're talking about in today's video. Now, before we really dig into it, Georgia is spending money. They are spending NIL dollars and resources. But according to Pete Nakos over at On3, who I think covers NIL and that type of stuff full time, that's what he does. According to him, Georgia's not even on the top 10 as far as programs that spend the most money in college football. But I'm telling you right now, Georgia does spend money, but they're trying to do it in a smart way, right? Pun intended, actually. And Kirby Smart kind of addressed this at SEC Media Days, and he was kind of frustrated when he said it, or at least that's how I perceived it, because later on in that day, they would lose Tyler Atkinson to Texas, and then James Johnson, their highest-ranked defensive line commitment, would flip to Texas. They ended up losing Derek Cooper out to Texas. Texas is spending a bunch of money, right? As you know, that's part of the game. They are allowed to do that, and they're doing it more than anyone right now. According to Pete Nakos, Texas is number 1. Texas Tech is number 2. Ohio State is number 3. I believe Ohio State was number 1 last year. But the way they spend money is kind of like how Georgia's doing it. They want to spend money through the transfer portal. They want to use those NIL dollars and resources to upgrade their roster immediately. That's what Ohio State did. They brought in a bunch of really talented players, including Caleb Downs, arguably the best defensive player in college football, who's back this year, and he's going to help them again. And Ohio State won a national championship, right? So you have to spend money to raise a championship. But Kirby Smart says, hey, we still want to sell relationships over transactions. And I'm going to do it my way, because I've got 2 national championships under my belt. And we can sell you the opportunity to make NIL dollars, right? We're not going to give you the biggest check, but we're going to sell you the life and career that you want to have. You can come to Georgia, be a better player, compete for championships, and go off to the NFL and make NFL money while making a decent bid at Georgia. But I'm telling you right now, I don't want this narrative to be out there that Georgia's not spending a dime, this and that. No, if you want good players, you have to spend money. Now, a lot of the players that they are bringing in, especially at the high school level, they are taking less money to come play at Georgia. So what they're doing is working. They're going to sign a top 3 class, right? They're going to miss out on Tyler Atkinson, their 5-star top linebacker on their board, and they're going to miss out on Jackson Cantwell and James Johnson and Derek Cooper, and probably a couple others, right? I know for a fact a couple others, more than a couple actually, because they're not going to write the biggest check, and they're not going to, right? Jared Curtis, top quarterback of the country, he took less money to come to Georgia. KJ Bolden took less money to come to Georgia. It happens. You're not going to get the shiny 5 stars to do that all the time, but that's the way they're going to do that, and Kirby Smart is not going to change the way he does things. But they are still using resources. I spoke with a Georgia assistant coach a couple of years ago. I may have told this story already, but we were watching a player who would eventually go to Georgia, and I asked him about NIL, and he said, man, that's all the kids, or at least my targets, that's all they want to talk about. It's the first thing. And they're frustrated. They want to sell the program, the culture. They want to sell Athens, one of the greatest college football towns in the country. They want to sell their ability to get guys to the NFL. They don't want to start the conversation with NIL, right? Steve Sarkisian said, we don't talk about NIL till the very end. That's nonsense, right? That is complete nonsense. He's talking out of his butt there, okay? That's just what it is. That's not real. And I'm not saying Georgia does that either. You have to address the questions when they're asked. And a lot of the times it's on regular visits, unofficials, before they get to the official visit process, right? So you have to answer those questions if you want to get them on official visits. But, you know, talking about the transfer portal, that's where Kirby Smart wants to go get, right? And that's where they want to spend. They brought Zachariah Branch in because they knew they had to upgrade their wide receiver position immediately. They knew that it was bad last year, right? They had to address it. So they get out and they go get Zachariah Branch from the transfer portal, one of the fastest and most explosive players in college football. They went out and got 6'4" Noah Thomas, who brings SEC experience, a guy who's played a lot of football, who's very productive. Those guys aren't cheap. They brought him in, right? So they have spent money, and they're going to continue to do so. But according to Pete Nakos, which did surprise me, they're not even in the top 10. It's Texas, like I said earlier. Texas Tech number 2, Ohio State number 3, Oregon number 4. They got the Nike money. They're spending money. They're desperate. They've never won a national championship. They're halfway kind of close. They're spending money. They've got to do that if they want to win a championship. Texas A&M number 5. And I'll say this. I'll continue. My Texas A&M and Miami are apparently tied for fifth. To the exact penny they've spent, I guess. USC 7, Michigan 7. I guess they're tied, which doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. I can have two teams tied with the exact same amount, but okay, that's his business. This is his list. Tennessee at 9, Auburn at 10. At least Georgia they're not in the top 10 spending and not winning. There's a lot of programs on this list who are spending crazy money, over the top money. They're not winning anything. What are we doing? Texas A&M at number 5, tied with Miami, they lost the Pop-Tarts Bowl last year. Texas A&M isn't going anywhere. They're supposed to be in the middle of the pack in the SEC, and they're spending that money. Could you imagine what Georgia fans would say if they knew that Georgia was in this top 10, top 5, and they were losing 4, 5 games a year? Texas Tech has that oil money. I get all that. They have to spend that money because no one wants to live in Lubbock, Texas. Are you kidding me? I don't care what they're offering me. I love where I live and love where I grew up and love where I went to college. It wasn't at Georgia. Actually, Kennesaw State wasn't all that great. Kennesaw's not a college town. You'd have to pay me a lot more to live in Lubbock, Texas. Are you kidding me? That's a no for me all day long. But Texas A&M is spending and not winning. Miami spending, losing in the Pop-Tarts Bowl. USC's not relevant. They're not relevant. They're spending a ton. Michigan spending a ton. And they won a championship, right? Now, they weren't all that great last year. They could be better this year. So they've got their ups and downs. They're not consistently really, really good. But they've got a championship, and that's all that matters. That will keep those people happy for a while. Tennessee at number 9. Tennessee hasn't won anything. They haven't won anything. They're spending a good amount of money, not winning anything. Now, I love what they did with Nico, basically saying, hey, you're not going to demand more money from us, kid. You're not even that good. You had a down year. I know the rest of the offense wasn't great either, but they said, see you later, dude. I'll tell UCLA, you go. That was a good job of them not overpaying for a completely mediocre quarterback last year. But they made it to the playoffs. That's great for them. That's a step forward. They need to be winning more if you're spending in the top 10. Auburn at 10. They're losers right now. They're losers. What are we doing? And they're spending in the top 10. Auburn and Tennessee, according to Pete Nakos, are spending more money than Georgia, and they're losing, right? Georgia could spend more. They're not a program that has to. Now, we'll see if they lose 3-4 games, if they miss the playoffs and, they don't win another national title for 3 or 4 years, maybe they're going to have to spend more and adjust things. But right now, Kirby Smart's saying, we're still selling relationships. They are still spending money, but they're doing it through the NIL portal more than they are, in high school football recruiting. And when you're signing 30 kids, there's only so much money to go around, and you're still signing the number 1 quarterback, and you're still bringing in big-time wide receivers like you did in the last class. You're still signing 5-star cornerback who wasn't cheap. 5-star Elijah Griffin. I can tell you right now, he had people, writing him bigger checks than Georgia did. From what sources say, I don't have exact numbers, but just stuff I hear behind the scenes. I cover recruiting, so I hear a lot. And again, they're bringing in really good players, and they're not spending a ton through high school football recruiting so they can address the problems that they have immediately through the portal, and that's where they want to spend. But still, according to Pete Nakos, who does this for a living, he knows more than I do, Georgia's not even in the top 10. And it is kind of wild to me. I was a little surprised. I thought it'd be towards the bottom of that. I knew they weren't a top 5 spender. I think they have enough boosters to put more money together. But at the end of the day, they're doing just fine. I know they had a down year last year. I think they're going to improve. And they did. They did improve as a football team. And they addressed the areas of concerns that they had through the portal thanks to NIL, right? So they are spending, but they're not like Texas giving out the biggest check possible to all these kids and then saying, we don't talk about NIL till the very end. No, dude, just be real. Be real. And if you're a Texas fan, don't start talking about relationships and this guy wants to compete for championships and he's got the best relationship at Texas. I'll buy that a little bit, but say it with your chest out. My team, my program is spending all the money. Ha ha. Ha ha. My team is doing everything they can to win a championship. Texas should never go 20 years without winning a championship. Way too many resources. The brand, the history, that should never happen. That is the most desperate program right now for a championship. I think it's Texas, probably Notre Dame. Tennessee is up there. 1998. Oregon hasn't won anything ever. They've played for a championship. I'll give them that. They're close, but they're desperate. A&M is desperate. Miami, USC, they're all desperate. Auburn's desperate. And they're all on this list. They're all spending money. Georgia's not top 10, and they've got 2 national championships in their back pocket. When the NIL and transfer portal was happening in college football, they have 2 national championships in the transfer portal era and in the NIL era. And so that's why Kirby Smart doesn't want to offer the biggest check. He's saying, look at this resume. We value relationships over transactions. We'll address the concerns. Here's what we can do for you, but you're not getting the biggest check here. It's not happening. We're going to win anyway. But biggest spenders of college football, Georgia's not one of them. We'll see if things change over the course of the next couple years and beyond. But right now, Georgia's not doing it the way a lot of other programs who aren't winning as much are doing. Thanks for watching. Hope you learned something. I'll see you over on Dawg Post.